I didn't think my freshman year could get any worse until the first day. My dad had died just a few months before, and while I knew starting high school would be tough, I did not expect the other kids to be so cruel about it. The moment I walked through those front doors, I felt it. The stares, the whispers, and the comments. They would say things like, "Hey, isn't that the kid whose dad kicked the bucket?" Or, "Looks like someone couldn't handle the pressure, huh?" They were relentless. They wouldn't let up. Every class, every hallway, there was someone ready to remind me of my dad's death. By the time lunch rolled around, I felt like I couldn't breathe. I sat by myself, staring down at my food, trying to figure out how I was going to survive 4 years of this. That's when Stan showed up. I didn't know him, had never seen him before, but he slid into the seat across from me like we were old friends. He had this weird, almost unsettling grin on his face, and he was wearing a black satanic symboled shirt. "Heard you've been having a bad day," he said. He wasn't a dick about it though, and seemed genuine. Still, I didn't say anything. I just kept my eyes on my sandwich, trying to pretend that he wasn't there. Stan leaned in closer and smiled. "I can help you, you know. I can take care of them." That got my attention. I looked up at him, confused, and said, "What do you mean?" He just shrugged. "Meet me in the bathroom during 5th period. I'll show you." Something in his voice made me feel uneasy, but I was desperate. I nodded, not really believing anything would come of it, but figuring I didn't have much to lose. 5th period came, and I made my way to the bathroom. I expected to find it empty, but Stan was already there, leaning against the sink, holding this old, worn-out book. It looked ancient, the kind of thing you'd see in a movie or something. "Close the door," he said. His voice echoed off the tiles. I hesitated, but did as he asked. When I turned back, he was flipping through the pages of the book, muttering something under his breath. The language he was speaking was nothing I'd ever heard before. It was something foreign, like he was speaking in tongues. Then he started saying the names of the kids who had been tormenting me. One by one, he spoke them, his voice taking on this eerie, almost inhumane tone. I was frozen, watching him stand there and chant these names. When he finished, he snapped the book shut and looked up at me with a grin. "They'll leave you alone now," he said simply, like it was no big deal. I didn't know what to say. I had just watched this kid whom I'd never met before perform some kind of ritual in the school bathroom. What do you say to that? Without a word, Stan walked past me, patted me on the shoulders, and walked out of the bathroom. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I kept expecting something to happen, but it wasn't until after school that I heard the news. One of the bullies had tripped down the stairs and broken his leg in 3 places. Another had slammed his hand into a car door, shattering every bone. The worst was the kid who ended up in the hospital. He'd been messing around in the shop class when a piece of machinery malfunctioned. He nearly lost his arm. It was like something straight out of an M. Night Shyamalan movie. The next day, no one even looked at me. The kids who had been making my life hell were all out, either in the hospital or too scared to come to school. The atmosphere had shifted. No one wanted to mess with me anymore. But it didn't feel good. It felt wrong, like I was cursed or something. I tried to find Stan after that, to ask him what he'd done, but he was nowhere to be found. When I went to the school's office to see where he was, they informed me that he had transferred out. This stunned me. I've never believed in dark magic or curses or whatever you want to call it. But the book, the names, those kids getting hurt, it was all too real. I can't even find Stan on social media or anything. This all happened over 5 years ago, and I am in college now, and I still cannot truly fathom what went on in that bathroom that first day back to school. I guess I'll never know. So, this happened yesterday, and I still can't shake this disturbing feeling that it gave me. I'm an 8th grade teacher, and like every year, I was excited for the first day of school. I met my new students, who seemed like a great bunch of kids, and everything was going smoothly. The day was almost perfect, honestly. The kind of day where you think, okay, this is going to be a good school year. The bell rang at 3 p.m., and the students filed out, chatting about their plans for the afternoon. I stayed behind in my classroom to catch up on some paperwork. I wanted to get a head start on grading and organizing my lesson plans. Plus, it was nice to have the room to myself for a bit after such a hectic first day back. By the time I looked at the clock, it was almost 6 p.m. The school was quiet at this point. I hadn't realized how late it had gotten, but I wasn't too worried. I figured a few other teachers were probably still around, finishing up their work as well. I was just about to pack up when I heard something. It was laughter. It sounded like a group of kids just down the hallway. The weird thing was, there shouldn't have been any students left in the building. I mean, school had been out for hours, and after-school programs did not run this late. I brushed it off at first, thinking maybe it was a couple of kids who stayed behind for some reason, though that's usually not allowed. But then it happened again, closer this time. It was almost like the laughter was coming directly outside my classroom. Curiosity got the best of me, so I stepped out of my classroom and into the hallway. It was completely empty. No kids, no staff, just the dim light from the exit signs reflecting off the polished floor. I even checked the nearby classrooms, but they were all locked and dark. When I got back into my room, that's when I saw it. My name was written on the chalkboard in big, bold letters. Underneath it, someone had scrawled, "You will die." I just stared at it in absolute confusion, my brain trying to make sense of what I was seeing. I knew I hadn't written it. My handwriting was neat, controlled. This was rushed, almost like someone had been in a hurry or angry. My first thought was that some student was pulling a prank. 8th graders can be mischievous, but this was way too dark, even for them. Plus, who would stick around for 3 hours just to do something like this? And how had they done it without me hearing anything? I wiped the board clean, packed up my things, and headed straight for the principal's office. I was on edge, half expecting to hear that laughter again as I walked through the halls. Thankfully, I didn't. The principal was still in his office, luckily, and I told him what had happened. He looked concerned and pulled up the security footage from the hallway outside my classroom. But here's the thing. No one had gone into my room after the students had left. The last person to enter or leave was me. There were cameras in the hallway, so if anyone had gone in, we would have seen them. But the footage showed nothing. The principal tried to reassure me, saying that it was probably just some glitch with the video, or maybe I was just tired from the first day back. But I know what I saw and heard. I'm not the type to get spooked easily, but this was different. I'm supposed to go back to work tomorrow, and honestly, I don't know how I feel about it. Part of me wants to laugh it off and move on, but another part feels like something's wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just a prank that somehow slipped under the radar. But if that's the case, then who wrote on the board? And how do they do it without being seen? I guess I'll find out soon enough. I remember when I was starting 7th grade that it was supposed to be exciting. New classes, new friends, and hopefully not being the shortest guy in the grade anymore. But the first day wasn't anything like I expected. It started out normal enough. I got up, had breakfast, and put on the new backpack my mom bought me. I was nervous to go back to school, but that was nothing new. When the bus rolled up, I climbed on and went straight to the back. I liked sitting there because I could keep to myself. As we drove off, I stared out the window, trying to calm the first day back jitters. That's when I noticed a car behind us. It was an old, beat-up Honda. Nothing special, but the guy driving it caught my attention. He looked older, maybe in his mid-50s, with a scruffy beard and greasy hair. At first I didn't think much of it, just another car on the road. But as the bus kept making turns, heading towards the school, the car followed. Every single turn it was right there, keeping pace with us. I remember thinking maybe it was a parent of one of the kids on the bus, but what if it wasn't? Still, I did not want to be the weird kid freaking out over nothing, so I stayed quiet. When we got to school, I jumped off the bus and forgot about the car for a while. The first day of classes were just like every other year. Teachers going over the rules, passing out books, and reminding us that homework was back in full swing. But during history class, I glanced out the window, and there it was again. That same beat-up Honda was parked in the parking lot, and the guy was inside, just sitting there. Why would this guy follow the bus all the way to the school? Was he waiting for someone? For me? I couldn't focus on the rest of the class. My mind kept going back to that car. I wanted to tell someone, but who would I even tell? Hey, there's a guy in a car who might be following me. I could already hear my classmates laughing at me, so I just kept it to myself. The rest of the day dragged on. I kept looking out the windows, half expecting to see that guy everywhere. But he didn't show up again until I was on the bus heading home. Just like that morning, he was behind us, following every turn. By the time we got close to my stop, I was paranoid. When I saw my mom waiting at the bus stop, I felt a bit of relief, but it was short-lived. As I stepped off the bus, I noticed the car slowing down a little further up the road. The guy was still in it, watching. I bolted towards my mom's car, not even looking back to see if he was still there. My mom could tell something was up from the second she saw me. "What's wrong?" she asked. Her voice was tense. I pointed towards the car, now stopped at the corner. That guy's been following the bus all day. My mom's face went pale. She glanced at the car, then back at me, and without another word, she threw the car into gear and sped off. I could feel the tension in the air, and my mind raced with questions. Why was she so scared? Who was that guy? When we got home, she locked the doors and told me to sit down. Her hands were shaking as she dialed a number on her phone. I just sat there, feeling helpless. After a few minutes, she hung up and turned to me, her face pale and serious. "That was your dad's old car, but the man driving it, he's not your dad. He's my ex-husband." She paused like she was trying to find the right words. "I never told you about him because I didn't think I had to. We were divorced before you were born. He did some bad things, and he went to jail for them. He was released a few weeks ago, but he's not supposed to be near us. I have a restraining order against him." I looked at my mom in disbelief. I had no idea what to say. My mom ended up calling the police, and they came over. They took our statements and went out to look for the guy. Later that night, they called back to say they found him and he was being taken back to jail for violating the restraining order. Apparently, he found out where I went to school and just wanted to look at me. It was super bizarre. It still creeps me out that he was willing to violate his parole the second he came out of prison. I just hope this time he stays locked up.